Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Just going to click this little thing over here. We are having a snowstorm. We started having a snowstorm around 8 o'clock last night. And overnight, they sent for reinforcements. We've got more of it happening today. There's going to be a reprieve. And then on the weekend, more snow. So we are live right now on a couple of platforms simultaneously, which is the magic of television. We are on Twitch, we are on Facebook, and we are on YouTube. And then I do a little click over to get on LinkedIn. I'm going to rectify that so that LinkedIn is automatic. I have to fix that today. So what is lovely about that is that we are appealing to different audiences and different niches and different groups of people who wouldn't necessarily overlap otherwise. And that's really the whole point of these videos, of the stuff that I'm doing, of the work that I've been doing, and this really great project that is coming along. So for those of you just joining us, I'm Abby Hegyard. Cheers. This is my little office. I am on the 15th floor, overlooking the beauty of Ottawa, Canada, the capital of our beautiful country. And behind me, you can see Mom is standing guard. And beside her, I have some Care Bears images. These are original images from when we were recording the specials before the series came out. And then here and there are little, you can see some teeny weeny Care Bears just in front of my tulips. You see them just there, right there? Now, it's not that I'm a collector. It's that these are my souvenirs from when we were working on the shows. And coming together with people now, all these years later, is an opportunity for us to remember moments that were just, well, they were certainty. You knew that you were going to be able to step off the spinning wheel and just take a moment for ourselves. We were going to be able to just do that thing that feels great. And when I started talking with Chris Wilkes back in October about the concept for a group of us, all different interests, ages, coming from different places in the world, the thing we have in common is the memory, and it's as real as if we could just touch it, just close our eyes and touch it, is that certain things are unforgettable. And I said, there's a couple of ways to look at the word unforgettable. One is that they've become iconic. It's I think of unforgettable as the warmer, fuzzier version of the word fame. Something is famously delicious, famously reliable. You just know that a thing is going to work because of what it is and what the brand stands for. Unforgettable is also the sensation we have. When we're not feeling well, and then we suddenly realize that somebody is making us that favorite dish that we used to have when we were young, when we weren't feeling well, and suddenly we're right back there. And when we are out and about and we hear some music, we hear a song, we get off an elevator, or we hear somebody walking by and they've got music playing on their phone or whatever, and all of a sudden we remember the moment. We remember the moment when that song was the song. And it's like a time machine. It's, we can transport ourselves. We can transmogrify, thank you, Calvin and Hobbes, and become the person we were in the frame of mind we had when that was happening live. And good morning, Sean. Agreed? Yes. And when we have these moments that are just, you can't put it into words. Certain things, the way you feel, the back of the brain is where we feel things, right? The back of the brain is so old, it's pre-verbal. So that's why there are really no words that properly express how we feel, because feeling first. The words are trying to catch up. However, we all, if I say unforgettable, we all know exactly what that means to us. And the trick really, what I'm doing, what we are all doing, is we are asking each other to define that unforgettable. What is unforgettable to you? And Chris is our watchdog. He's the trivia guy. I have no idea how I have no idea how many days I was sick that I did not see or hear of so much stuff that he knows. But when he mentions something, and then we've got all of our people in our little group that's growing. We are the Unforgettables on Facebook. And if you haven't joined us, check it out. It's really cool. What is great about it is we're not just posting stuff and people liking it and or maybe saying, yeah, that's great, awesome. The people who are looking and watching and following, they're starting to talk to each other. We're getting this whole thing like a Lego set building itself of people who are good morning, good morning. So good morning, Chris. How these people are realizing that we all have these different things in common. You know, Warren is on with the music, and we've got Sky over in England who's on with all of her take on things Viking and UK-ish. And we have people in California. And Chris and I were laughing. I said early on, I said, so ooh, we've got the UK, we've got France, we've got, of course, Australia, we've got France, we've got Germany, and we've got Nigeria. And Chris said, oh yeah, that's that prince. He's trying to get in touch with you. The Prince of Nigeria is unforgettable. And this is so cool, so much fun that we are building this dynamic. You know, it's alive, it's dynamic, it's evolving on its own. People are breaking out and having conversations. You know, one of my longtime You Can't That on Television follower fan buddies, Eddie Fleiss. Eddie is now talking to Chris, and Chris is talking to this one, and somebody in California is talking to that one, and it's becoming something that is on its own, walking and growing and thriving. And I was having a very detailed, in-depth conversation with Gary last night. Gary is our ruckus buster. He's our troubleshooter guy for Unforgettables. And he was saying that there's so much pushback rhetoric. I think pushback is probably the right word. When suddenly people are talking about one thing and it's very opinionated. You know, everybody either loves or hates the winter. Okay, but when you get a dumping of inches of snow, not a lot of people are loving the winter. And so you'll get people saying, couldn't dig out, you know, just dug out, and then the plow came by and have to dig out again. And somebody else said, well, it's better than this. And you know, when people are suddenly at odds with each other and taking sides. And Gary and I were talking, and I said, you know, the taking sides thing is completely useless. Completely useless. It's toxic, it's exhausting, and it gets us nowhere. Because, and my analogy always is, my dad was Air Force, for those of you who don't know. Good morning, Freddie. Good morning, Scott. Here's the thing. You got an airplane. This is the thing I've known since I was a very small child. Father, Air Force. It's a plane. You need to have two wings. One has to be opposite to the other for the thing to fly, to get it off the ground and to prevent it from immediately coming back to the ground. And since the dawn of time, no pilot has said to the co-pilot, as soon as we clear the tower, let's jettison that other wing. None, zero, at least none that then flew to the destination. So while it is important and interesting to have dynamic conversations and experience different points of view, when the rhetoric spirals up and people start adding labels, it's unhelpful. It's unhelpful. And what Unforgettables is doing, I love winter too, Sean, but I don't love winter when it's when it's 2 feet deep. I have my limits. I love all the seasons. I love them. What I don't appreciate is when the seasons get all uppity and decide that they're going to decide. I'm not fond of precipitation that falls sideways. Falling is this. This is annoying. So when we were talking last night, Gary and I, about people taking sides, and when you take sides, you automatically start divesting the other people of their humanity. We start speaking of people in terms of an attitude or an opinion or a point of view or a point on the map, as opposed to our point on the map. Well, the map is basically a locator device, and lines on the map are not lines on the ground. When you reach a border between countries or states, or there isn't a line on the ground. It's what we have created in our heads and written down on pieces of paper. The earth is the earth is the earth. And as long as we are able to remember that on a day like today, when we've got this much snow, there are people with not a lot of resources. And that much snow, if they don't have transportation, if they don't have warm clothing, if they don't have a way to get where they need to go, it's devastating. It's not, oh, I have to shovel it out again. It's, I can't get my wheelchair out again. And these are the things that we need to remember to keep us together, to keep us caring about each other, to keep us reminding each other that there is always going to be uncertainty. There's always going to be, I don't know what's going to happen next. And that's terrifying. It's like finding yourself not standing on level ground, on solid ground. And the topic today, how much more black could this be? The answer is none. None more black. How it's very funny. Yeah, for the last week, maintenance people have been going around the building that I'm living in, and they cut a hole in the hallway wall in order to put a panel in to be able to access something later. So I wasn't paying attention. I'm in here. And he says, I'm all done. And I said, okay, coming. And I come, and the wall, he's repaired the wall and everything. But the panel he put on, he didn't paint the same color as the wall. And I said, did you run out of paint? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, why is the panel white? And he said, well, so they can see it. And I said, it's three-dimensional. It's sticking out. Why does it have to be white? And he said, I guess, did you want me to fix that? Because I'm kind of late now. And I looked at him and I said, did you do this in all the apartments? And he said, yeah. And I said, and what made you think that white was a good idea? And he said, well, the panel itself is white. So I just thought I would paint it its own color. He left. I'm standing there. Gary comes in. He said, how'd it go? And I said, well, and he looked and he said, really? I said, apparently they've done it in the whole building. Gray wall, white thing. I mean, on purpose. So beautiful painting. What's that? Nothing. It's a white square. So what we focus on is the bad certainty. Because now what am I supposed to do with this? And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I might paint a smiley face on it. He said, they won't like that. I said, oh, sucks to be them. What else am I supposed to do with it? I don't know. Put a plant in front of it. Get a flamingo, have it stand there, stay. What am I supposed to? And then I walked away and I thought, you know what? That's a first world problem. We're going to get feet of snow, and I'm looking at a square on the wall. The conversation is that it is very easy to feel threatened. It is very easy to feel compromised. It is very easy to feel that we're not in charge, we're not in control, that we've lost our way. And if the primitive brain steps in, all of those are signals to panic and feel afraid. Because what you want to do is blend in. What you want to do is make sure that things are seamless and predictable and therefore safe. And in the midst of all kinds of upheaval that is going on, winter, issues, weather, business, you don't need somebody gratuitously handing you something else. So now all the focus has gone from creativity and conversation and collaboration to arguing with a man who has to do, I don't know how many units are in the building, has to do all of them. He made a gut decision. It was a dumb decision. And now somebody's going to make that man come back and do it all over again. At some point, somebody's going to get mad enough and talk to somebody who says, fine then, repaint it. And the poor guy who is trying to do his best, but he wasn't thinking, he wasn't present, he was floating off somewhere else, thinking about something else, probably concerned about his family with everything going on, and didn't think here, now. And as a result, more stuff, more stuff, more stuff. That becomes a bad certainty. If you're not present, if you're not focused, if you're not paying attention, the likelihood for bad certainty increases. One of the things that Gary and I were talking about last night was, if you look at a situation and you say, I'll do that, what you need to do, even when it's an emergency, is take 2 seconds, step back and say, I'll do that. Is that the best? Is that the best right now? Or is that the best we can come back and do better? Can we do better now? It's here, and then it's further in the future. Can we make sure that we're not ending up with unintended outcomes that cause double or triple the work? Like this poor guy yesterday, who did a great job. Seamless painting, beautiful, beautiful work. Took very little time, cleaned up after himself, very pleasant. And then he checked out for 5 seconds. And that's going to cost him. And it's going to cost his company. And it's going to cost everybody in the conversation. Jill. Hello, Jill. Oh my gosh, how wonderful to see your comment. Oh my gosh. So, wow. Jill and I had a wonderful adventure when she wrote her memoir. She's an amazing woman, everybody. If you haven't seen Jill Perolo's book, Live Your Life, you got to go on Amazon and get that book. She's a miracle. So back to where I was, and that's a certainty, I can tell you. Where we are now, and my topic today is the question, is uncertainty worse than bad certainty? And the answer is yes, resoundingly all the time. And I'm going to explain to you why. If you know a thing, absolutely know it because you've been there, you've done it, and it's happened again. Bad certainty is a known thing. It is something you brace yourself for. It's something you prep yourself for. It's something you have to put time aside for, that you have to deal with, that you have to try to avoid. You know, when I was talking on Tuesday and I said you can struggle, you can strain, or you can shift, right? You can hang on, you can maintain, or you can let it go. When you have a bad certainty, when a theater critic says to you on opening night, would you like my opinion? This is so close to a bad certainty if you say yes, so close. Because and even if they're smiling, they might still be smiling because they want to give you some pointers. Okay, not tonight, Josephine. Not, tell me later. I'm busy. Opening night. Bad certainty is the awareness that we must brace ourselves. Bad certainty is that this is going to get worse before it gets better. Bad certainty is, I, however, have the keys. I own the ability to shift my mood, my attitude, my status, my position. And in fact, Jill being here, Jill today is the absolute role model for shift. She was in a horrific accident. She was and still is passionate about travel because that never changes. And her whole life was about saving her money and saving her work time in order to be able to, with not a lot of resources, see the world. And then this accident and the recovery time and the challenge she faced and the work she had to do and the pain that she went through and the concern and the love and the coming together of her friends and her family to deal with this bad certainty created an outcome of love, created an outcome of, I'm here, damn it, and I'm going to make this work. And she had a friend who was in screenwriting and whatnot, and he was saying, you need to write the novel. And then he found me through that writer's agency. And Jill and I worked for a long, God, how long was it, honey? How long did it take us to get your book together? But her story every day and the pictures, oh my God, the pictures of what had to happen to her, extraordinary. Was that a bad certainty? Yes. Did she make the best of it? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She stepped up and leaned in. What we found ourselves talking about throughout the writing of the book, throughout the conversation about where we wanted to go with it and what she wanted people to understand about recovery, about the decision that has to come first. You have to pivotry in motion. You have to change your mindset. You could be a victim or you could be a Viking. And Jill chose Viking. And all the way through her recovery, everything we were talking about, all the compensating she had to make for things, getting herself through doorways, getting herself to work, getting a vehicle that allowed her to be independent, all these steps, every single one of them she looked at appeared to be a bad certainty. She had the decision and the power and the determination to say, I don't think so. We will find a way. And so her title is Live Your Life. Don't just stand there. Don't just stand there kvetching. Live it. It's here, it's now. We got a problem. Let's find the solution. That is why certainty is something you can sink your teeth into. How heavy is that thing? I don't know. Gary came with all the tools, and I said, what's in it? Did you bring a piano? And he said, actually, it's not that bad. But when he hefted it, he had to kind of put his shoulder in. I said, I bet you that if I came over there trying to lift it, I would fall over back. I would fall over it because he goes rucking. He puts, I don't know, 1,000 pound, I don't know, his own weight on his back and then goes running. So the certainty that he has is that he hasn't met a challenge he can't master. It might take him a minute. That's his certainty. Uncertainty is not knowing if I have a job tomorrow, not knowing if everything is going to be okay, not knowing that somebody who gets lost easily is going to find their way, not knowing that the questionable antics that are going on that we're seeing in social media are going to make our lives more complicated. It's the not knowing, because we feel safe in a sanctuary space because it's ours and it's familiar, and it makes it difficult to look out and step outside because we're not sure. Hang on a second. I just read the rest of Jill's. Favorite injured person who now has a new knee. Ta-da! Congratulations, Jill. Congratulations. I want to hear all about it a little later. Mrs. Sean says, you do realize you're a redhead, darling. Why, thank you. You know, Sean, I have a friend who is colorblind. And it was a very funny thing. We get together once a month, a bunch of us, and we've been doing it for 20 years. And it's quite a while ago now, but we periodically remember it. I had gone to the ladies' room, and somebody in the group said, what a crazy redhead. And he said, where? And everybody looked at it. And the guy said, Abby. And he said, Abby has red hair? Just gobsmack, everybody. I come back and I said, what's happened? And Carol said, well, it turns out that he's colorblind. Nobody knew. Why would it ever come up? Well, so he had no idea when people made references to me because he was uncertain what they were talking about. We walk into a room, everybody's having a conversation. You stand there and you think, I have no idea. And I have no idea if I will ever have an idea. Now I don't feel good. Now I feel like I'm out of step with everybody. Pretty much every conversation that has to do with technology. I'm fairly certain this is going to clear itself up eventually. In the meantime, I have no. And what we get used to with uncertainty is allowing ourselves to recognize that it's not necessarily harmful to us. Military kids live in a world of uncertainty. There was never a week when I went to school that I did not come home from school and brace myself as I walked in the door of my home for the possibility that the living room would be full of packing boxes. There was not a day. There was not a week. Because more often than you would like to think, you get all excited because next week you've been working really hard. You're going to be starring in the school play. It's so exciting. It's going to be wonderful. You walk in the door and the boxes are there. And you know that you're not going to be in the play because Daddy just got his orders and we are leaving. And nothing, as a child, nothing is more crushing than having your expectations and your hopes and all the work and excitement and anticipation crushed. It is just so empty and so lonely and so lost and helpless. Because no matter what you do, you can lie on the floor, you can kick and scream and go limp when people try to lift you, or you can stand up, shoulders back, get your boxes, go to your room and start packing. It doesn't matter which one you choose, you're leaving. The uncertainty is, will the boxes be there? That is the little gray cloud that is always just hovering. Bad certainty is when you walk in the door. Why bad certainty is not as terrible is that at least now you know. Now you know what the next steps are. Now you call somebody and say, not going to be doing the show. Now you say, there will be other shows. Now you say, where are we going? Now you say, how many things do I need to get rid of? Because I only have so many boxes. How many things do I keep that I cherish, that are my treasures? How many do I have to let go of, that I take a picture of instead, so that I can look at the pictures? They will be my memories. How many times? 40. Even now, right? The other day, somebody said to me, I had moved in here 2 years ago. Somebody said, there's another apartment exactly the same on another floor. You could move there. All the appliances are newer. And I almost had a meltdown. I did this. And I said, no. And they couldn't understand. They couldn't understand. So I didn't see this coming. They couldn't understand that what uncertainty does is it triggers a feeling that it's not going to end, that's safe and secure and certain, won't come back. My conversation with Gary, my conversations with Chris, my conversations with you, creating the unforgettables. This is our certainty. Friendship is forever. Passion for the things we create. Connection to the people who get us. Joy in the moment of creation. Connection and collaboration with laughter and excitement and enthusiasm and wonder. Constant. These are the things people can't take away. I was very tired yesterday, and I was tired in ways that made no sense. Crying is good. Crying is brilliant. Crying is showing people the size of our passion. Crying is a celebration that this is how big it is. This is how big it is. This is how all-encompassing it is. So people say, oh my gosh, me too. Everything. Thank you, Freddie. I am cheered. The tears are not sadness. The tears are not loss. The tears are not heartbreak. The tears are, we're walking here. We're walking here. No matter how much uncertainty there is, we're walking here. And when people forget that their decisions, once you start having, once you have tears and fluid leaving, it's leaving all over the place. Once you have people who say, I'm going to do this and I don't care. I don't care what happens. I'm doing it. I'm doing it for me and I don't care. Once you do that, what you are creating is gratuitous upset. Did you have to do it? Did it matter? Could you have taken 5 seconds to let people know? Could you have said, before you painted a white square in the middle of my gray wall, are you okay with a white square in the middle of the gray wall? If we are considerate, if we are capable of understanding cause and effect, then life is better. There will be uncertainty. How do we deal with it? Passionate and getting older is great. Well, Sean, I agree with you. I'm not sure about the older because I haven't done that yet. But I'll let you know. What I always do with these videos, for those of you who are just joining me, I always bring to the conversation the simple win, the life hack that I have. And when I was talking to my sweet client the other day, who was dealing with a lot of stuff, and I talked about this a bit on Tuesday, I said to her, I had a challenge 2.5 years ago. And the challenge was that I had to be there for someone I cared very deeply about who was very ill, and there were hospital visits and there were long meetings with doctors. And it lasted many, many, many consecutive months. And every morning when I woke up, I said, this day I meet and master this day. And it was my promise to myself. It was in the present tense. It was not wishful, not hope. I wasn't praying. I was stating my intention, my purpose, my goal. This day I meet and master. And I would get up at what time is it? And I'd get ready and I'd drive in unthinkable conditions on crazy roads, get to the place I had to be, pay attention, listen to every important thing every doctor was saying to me, make copious notes, bring my positive energy so that the experience was uplifting and fun, as much fun as it could be. And then I would go home. And if I had errands to run on the way home, I would run them. And when I got home, and I would make something to eat, and I would lay out my clothes in the order in which I had to put them on in the morning. And I would go to bed, and I would write in my little journal, and I would say, this day I met and mastered. And that is my simple win. That is my simple hack for uncertainty. There will always be moments when we're not sure. And some of that is the excitement, the what if. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. It's only 3 more days. That kind of uncertainty is exciting. It's still unsettling. It still distorts everything else that we're coping with. What we can do, what we have the ability to do, is create clear parameters. How long, oh Lord, how long does this normally take? Well, it's hard to say. Well, does it take 5 minutes or does it take 5 years? Oh, no, it's nothing like that. It's about an hour and a half. Thank you. That's what I want to know. Tell me what normally happens so I understand what certainty looks like. And then I will be able to brace myself for anomalies. Oh, right, of course. Here's the reason we have permission to ask for some kinds of definitions of certainty. And it's this. If I'm the new kid in the room, and I have spent 90% of my life being the new kid in the room, and if you're the new kid in the room, you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea where anything is. Everything is uncertain. I am permitted to not know stuff. When you ask somebody who has been in the room a long time, and you say, well, how long does this take? And they look at you like you're crazy. And then they say, oh, that's right, you're new here. I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Why do they forget? Because it's no longer uncertain for them. It's familiar. It's predictable. That the waves leave is okay because they must leave in order to return. First time you're standing on a beach, wave comes in and then it goes away. It must be terrifying. Oh my God, where did the wave go? Person who's been there says, no, it's all right. They come back. They come back. Are you sure? Yeah. Oh, look, here it comes. Oh, what a relief. Certainty comes from practice, comes from familiarity, comes from repeated behavior, comes from habit. Change and growth and evolution comes from being willing to step into uncertainty because we are certain in the knowledge that we are there for a reason, our purpose, our passion. And now what we learn to do, Viking style, is we learn to navigate what is unfamiliar using skills that are familiar. When we know there's a storm coming, that's a bad certainty. If we are uncertain how the boat will weather the storm, that's very, very unsettling. What we can do to give ourselves the confidence that we need is to say, this day, this crisis, this moment, I meet and I master. And now that's our focus, with one eye just over there. Why does that help? Well, it stops us from trying to multitask. It stops us from trying to be here and there and all over the place and spinning because we're scared, because we're uncertain, because we don't know what we're doing. For those of you who are new here, joining here, my definition of multitasking is doing many things badly. When I say badly, I mean less than optimal. If I do one thing, there's a good chance I'll give it 100%. Very good chance. If I do two things, clearly I can give each one the best I've got. But if I'm doing two of them, they're only going to get 50% of my optimum. Stands to reason. You have 100, you divide it by 2, you get 50 and 50. If I'm trying to do 3 things, if I'm trying to do 5 things, if I'm trying to stay in touch with and juggle my relationships and responsibilities with the 10 tribes I live in, each one of those tribes is getting 10% of me. Do they deserve 10%? No, they deserve 100%. How can I give everybody 100%? Give it to fewer people. Start with one. So uncertainty magnified, uncertainty exponential is overwhelming. When we, what we have with multitasking is an impossible goal that is forever out of reach, which is being 100% with everybody. At some point, somebody gets less than they needed, less than was critical. When my dear friend was in the hospital and had to have surgery on the brain, and I said to the doctor with my friend, "Tell me about the procedure." And so he did. And he said, "And then I will call you after it's over." And I said, do you have any idea how many men in my lifetime have told me they'll call me? And he said, "I'm the one who calls." And I said, "Okay." And when he did call at exactly the time he said he would call, I said, "Is this the man who calls?" And he said, "It is." And I said, "And this is then the man who is calling with good news?" And he said, "But of course." That very short exchange released all of the that I was holding on to, maintaining my certainty, maintaining my confidence. And when I was saying that yesterday, when I went to bed last night and I suddenly realized how tired I was leaning into my certainty that everything was fine, while someone I had never met in my entire life was in my space, cutting a hole in a wall for an essential purpose, granted. But I have no, right? Uncertainty. That's the definition of uncertainty. And then when I walked down the hall, I have not said, "There's no way this can turn out even." I didn't say that. I said, "This is his job. He needs to be here. I will be over here." But at least 40% of my attention was down the hall. I walked down the hall and there's a white square on a gray wall. And I said, and he now, after the fact, was uncertain about every accidental decision he had made how many times. Now he had to rethink what he was thinking, because I didn't say, "What were you thinking?" But he was saying, "What was I thinking?" And now how well is he going to do the job for the next person? He's going to be distracted. He's going to be uncertain whether he's going to be able to trust himself. Therefore, for the confidence that we need to boldly go, we bring skill, we bring practice, we bring responsibility, we bring commitment and talent. We lean in, we do the best we can. Every so often we step back to make sure everything's okay, and we keep going. And the people around us get to choose to believe us, to believe in us, or not. And in all the swirl that's going on around us right now, in all of the uncertainty, we've got weird weather. And I'm not having a conversation about why. I'm having a conversation about the fact that we're having weird weather. How do we manage our position, our life, our day to day when this kind of weird weather is not something that we have experienced before? This is a new skill set we have to take on. The reason that people resist change is because change is uncertain. The reason we resist change is because while it's uncertain, we feel silly and stupid and lost. The more certain we feel, the more happy we are with our ability, the better job we do, because we are front and center paying attention. When there is uncertainty, when we lose our balance, when the map is wrong, when the GPS tells us to go this way and it's a cliff or a bog. And now, how many other things has the GPS got wrong? More uncertainty. So our job in creating this group called the Unforgettables, in creating a community of people who have grasped the idea that life is better when we stay in touch with our humanity. Life is easier when we know we're not the only one who smiles when we remember things that we're fond of, for whom everything else that is challenging is easier, because we know that when we take that deep sigh, that somebody unforgettable is going to say, I know, right? And suddenly we are a tribe. Suddenly we got this. Suddenly, no matter what, we're going to be okay. Why? Because we already are okay. When I created Pivotry in Motion, when I came up with the word that is a mindset shift, you have to change your perspective and your commitment for something better before you can physically move toward, take action for something better. Pivotry is that mindset shift. When we realize that in the face of uncertainty, and there will always be uncertainty, in the face of uncertainty, we can find common ground. We can find anchor points. We can use language. We can use habits. We can create opportunities that help us feel safe. We can build a later folder. We can have the habit every day that we write down the things that have upset us or confused us or annoyed us. Put them in the book, get them out of the head, get them out of the heart, put them in the book, pat the book. It's called Later. I'm not going to forget it. I'm going to deal with it later. Right now, I got to live my day. This gets rid of uncertainty. This gets rid of rage. This gets rid of helplessness, because we can cope with it later. Do I have that habit? Yes. Did I invent it on purpose? Yes. Do I share it with you guys consistently? Yes. Why? It works. How long have I been using it? I have been using it since before. You can't do that on television. Consistently. So the two, thank you, Freddy. So the two, good morning, Daniel. The two things I would love that you take away today. One is, there will always be things we find unpleasant. We will always have the ability to find pleasant within them. I'm quite famous, well, small f famous, among my circle of friends. when everything is complicated. And I say, you know, every time it's this bad, when I'm up to my neck in it, I say, there's got to be a pony in here with me. Find the pony. Like Michelangelo with the marble, get a chisel and chip away everything that isn't the horse. Get rid of all this stuff. It's unhelpful. Uncertainty is our feeling that we weren't prepared. Uncertainty is our sensation that we have no solid place, that we are not guaranteed anything, that somehow we don't qualify, that perhaps nobody cares, that we may not be seen or heard or valued. And it eats away at our confidence and our ability to focus on the things that we are truly brilliant at. My friend Jill, my former client, my brilliant, brilliant author friend, client Jill, looked at the outcome of this random accident and said, I am certain of one thing. I'm not quitting. I am certain of one thing. I may not be walking here yet, but I'm here and I'm not quitting. And then she took it one step, one phase, one goal at a time. Small, incremental, painful, repetitive. Why? Why didn't she quit? Because it was hers to own, her life. And if she had something that was making every next moment uncertain, she was going to step in and own her own certainty. This day I meet. This day I master. This is mine today. Whatever the phrase is that works for you, what's in it for me today? Doesn't have to be forever. We just have to know now. Because now is certain. Everything else, every time I left the hallway last night, I came in the room, came out, I thought, maybe it's gray, maybe it just wasn't ready. Delusion is a small town on a river of denial. I caught myself doing it. You can take the Abby out of the mom, but you can't take the mom out of Abby. So, conversation today, all across this great landmass that we are sharing, there are storms this weekend. And for the people in the South, it's pretty it's pretty horrific. There's people in the South who have never seen freezing rain. And what is the word that I could use for freezing rain? Freezing rain is unhelpful. Walk carefully. Don't tap the brakes in the car. Everything, have a lot of windshield goop, have a scraper, have sensible shoes, have safety stuff in the car. You know, you need water, you need a snack, you need a blanket, you need whatever, a thing for bathroom. You need stuff. Make sure you've got charge in your phones. Freezing rain, accumulations of snow, temperatures suddenly rising, everything turning to water, and now all kinds of wet. It's going to be an interesting and complicated few days in a different way than it normally is. As long as you are certain that you are ready, willing, and determined to meet and master this day, You're going to be great. I speak from experience. So the weekend is upon us. It is Valentine's weekend. And I have a very exciting thing happened. One of the fans reached out to me yesterday. I've just registered on Cameo. Cameo is a place where people can hire you to do a special voice greeting or a video greeting to people. And somebody said, "Are you on Cameo?" And I said, "What is Cameo?" So I signed up. And yesterday, one of my longtime fan friends reached out and said, "Hey, Mom, it's my first time on Cameo. I've just hired you." What? And I looked it up. So I have that to look forward to this weekend. We're working on some exciting, new, crazy, wonderful details for the Unforgettables. The website is almost ready for the bigger umbrella for my stuff and the workshops and the live shows and all this stuff. So incrementally, we've got all these little sort of like Legos, right? We're pushing each little Lego a bit further, and then we're going back and pushing each little Lego a bit further. And so this is going to be a very active inside weekend for me, getting everything lined up and ready to go. So between now and Tuesday next week, what I want to wish for you is that on Valentine's weekend, on this special weekend, when people go out of their way to remind each other how they feel, you are amazing. You are incredible. You are valued. You are heard. You are seen. You are a thread in the fabric of everything. And that means that you are unforgettable. And we will talk next week about the Valentine's wishes that we have given and received. And the tragedy is that we can fix is that we sometimes save up for a special day like that to tell people how we feel about them. For the people who are new to watching these videos, I end my videos the same way every time. And I do that because we never know. The uncertainty is always there. That this might be one of the last few times. So let's not waste the moment. Let's not waste the opportunity to say, be good to you. You deserve it. Remember to hug your loved ones because they deserve it too. Thank people who make a difference in your life. The way I thank you at the end of every video. This is episode 332. Even with the trips to hospitals for my dear friend, I found a way to do my twice weekly videos because they were for me. They were to re-energize me, to put me in the right frame of mind, and they were for you. And I was not going to give up on that promise to myself and to you. That was certain. So I always end by saying, I will catch you next time.